Hey YouTube, Active Asylum Roids here with another glorious rant. Um, uh, little little warning ahead of time. This is another one of my many untranscripted films. I need to start using a transcript again to make better quality films, better quality rants, diatribes. Um, but I've just been too damn lazy to do them lately. So what can I say? I don't know. Maybe I need to start showing more respect to my fans by making better videos than what I've been making. Uh, uh, um, I decided to go ahead and just make this long incoming explanation about how I eventually became a left of center advocate. Um, and it's often said that many people are the result of their upbringing. Uh, to some extent, that's true with me. I'm not going to lie to you and say, "Oh, I'm, I had some kind of great epiphany." The other part is just about the epiphany. That's only partly true as well. I mean, there are many factors that bring us to what we are when we're older, but um, I guess I should start at the beginning. Maybe I should talk about my religion first. Um, I'm an atheist. I've said that before. I used to be an Episcopal. I quit being a Protestant because I just got tired of all of the contradictions. You know, I got tired of dealing with a worldview that was just I got tired of all of these people telling me that I had to live a certain way and be a certain way when they themselves were not even doing that. And then they'll turn around and have the gall to tell me, oh, well, other people who aren't doing this aren't true Christians, aren't true Christians. Yeah, no true Scotsman fallacy all around. Always using that as a form of Teflon, as a form of escape mechanism to get away from having to acknowledge that the standard they put forward is impossible to uphold. Now, when I say I was a Protestant, I don't mean I bought into creationism or any of that junk. Back when I was back when I was a Protestant, back when I was an Episcopal, I did believe in the existence of a higher power. But I stopped believing in it after I thought about it. When I was very young, even at a young age, I loved to read. I was very interested in evolutionary science uh, and astronomy. I loved reading about prehistoric life forms in my encyclopedia sets back when I had one. I enjoyed learning about the natural sciences. I enjoyed learning about biology, and you know, even from a very young age, I enjoyed it. I was I just you know the what can I say? I'm probably I'm someone who slipped through the cracks pretty much. Everyone around me was going hardcore evangelical. This was back when the religious right was still solidifying its base in in the South, but you know, the early '90s, the South had already flipped and gone GOP by the time I was old enough to walk. So, um, but my parents they didn't really have me go to church or anything when I was younger. I guess it's because they were lazy or too lazy to go. My old man was anyway, and I certainly had no inclination to go because I asked too many damn questions that many of the religious people in my state, the hardcore evangelicals, didn't like to hear. They get downright offended just by you having a fucking opinion or asking the wrong questions, or at least what they considered the wrong questions to ask. Uh, okay. Um, but that still didn't stop my old man from decrying me as a devil, as a devil worshiper, even though, even from a young age, saying I was doing Satan's bidding and all that, even though he never even went to church or really read the Bible himself because he was an illiterate fuck. He's still an illiterate fuck, but my mother was closer to being someone who actually understood what was in the Bible because she actually liked to read, but she didn't. But she didn't read the sciences or anything like that. She was someone who, well, she was a nice person, but she had her holdovers too. But she never actually overtly tried to push her religion off on me. She was very. Her religiosity was more akin to what you'd find in the Midwest and the Northeast. She just, even though she was highly religious, she didn't really try to go out of her way to, with a manifest destiny, dominionist mindset. She didn't have that. She was more of a traditional Protestant kind of religious person. But she didn't really have a church that she went to, so I think a lot of that also had to do with the fact that she didn't really identify with the Christians in the area because they were all Southern evangelical fundies. So it didn't matter if she believed in the same thing. Her theology was different, and so she never went to church because of it. And I think that was one of the main impetus behind why I and my sister were never really forced to go to church when we were younger. Even from a young age, I mean, I remember back in the 4th grade when I was asked why don't I go to church by some of my classmates, and I'm sorry, I've been trying to rest my eyes a bit. And my reply was, I didn't go to church to listen to some jackass. Well, that wasn't my exact reply, but I had to tone it down. Remember, I was in the 4th grade. Again, can't curse in school because you're gonna get sent to the principal's office. I told him I don't go somewhere on my weekends to listen to somebody else tell me how to live. And there's an old saying that the preacher's daughter is the kinkiest woman in town. And from a young age, I sort of believed that. So I always thought to myself, this religion thing can't be too good if the person who's preaching this stuff doesn't really care about it enough to follow it. So I always consider religion to be a joke, even from that age. I didn't believe in it because I had some kind of grounding in biology from a young age, and some kind of understanding of paleontological science. And I was a big fan of dinosaurs. And back then, before the evangelical right started saying that they were going to take the dinosaurs back from the evolutionists, back then they just said, oh, dinosaur bones were put there by the devil. They thought I was too fucking stupid to understand when they were making the switch in the narrative from dinosaur bones were put there by the devil to the evolutionists took the dinosaurs from us. Seriously, those are two conflicting narratives. And at some point, the young earther creationists and intelligent design advocates did the switch. They flipped it. They flipped the narrative. They switched it around because dinosaurs were cool and everything. And I guess they figured out that, oh well, this is a bad marketing on our part. We need to make it where you can still believe that dinosaurs existed at one point, but at the same time be a creationist. Yeah, give me a fucking break. Besides, even if the dinosaurs did I'm just saying that Noah's Ark, it wasn't, according to the Bible, wasn't big enough to fit the dinosaurs on it to begin with. And this was used as one of the arguments in the old days, before the religious right changed to the new narrative. This was one of the arguments that they made against against the dinosaurs ever existing, to say that creationism was true back in the old days before they changed over to the new story. So I hope I'm making sense on this. I'm just again, transcriptless video. Just later on when I got into high school, at some point my old man, due to a combination of both his racism and his fundamentalist stupidity, his religious fundamentalist stupidity, he pulled me and my sister out of public school. Originally, he kept on. His original argument back then was, "Well, I don't want you being forced to go down to that other school with all them black people, with all those damn niggers. I don't want you being bused all the way down to Coosa County to be with all them black niggers. They got sheriff department all down there all the time. And I want you to grow up to be a godly white soldier." Yeah. And I fucking hated him for that. I really fucking hated my father for that from that day forward, because he destroyed my social life when I was a teenager by putting me in this 1 day a week evangelical fundamentalist, just R.J. Rushdoony style trailer school that was nothing more than a tax write-off for the conservative right-wing Republican headmaster, who was a fucking kook, and the guy was later outed for pedophilia. I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, good call, old man, good fucking call. I guess that's the reason why Glenn Beck was spouting his little rant on his show a couple of nights ago about parents, that parents should throw their kids up against the wall and force belief in a deity down their throats, because I guess he realized that ultimately the belief in a Bronze Age desert religion was intrinsically tied to the John Birch Republican Party jihadist right-wing libertarian worldview. I know a lot of libertarians claim to be secularists and all, and I've met many of them that really were legitimately atheists. But a lot of the right-wing belief system really does stem from either race or religion, from either racism or extreme religion. So my old man, in his recent years, has bought into the John Birch Tea Party anti-liberal narrative. I mean, before he was just some Southern boll weevil. They used to call them boll weevils, guys who would vote for the Republican Party for president, but would vote for the Democrats at the state and local level. But he changed his views later on when he started going to a right-wing religious fanatic church. When I was living with him, that asshole actually tried to force me into going to that church with him. So this was in my early 20s. And I flat out said, no, I have no intention of going to church with you to this place, because I knew exactly what the fuck they were teaching. I knew that they were teaching a bunch of contrived bullshit right out of the mouth of the 19th century theologian John Darby, basically a theological mechanism. They were touting this theological mechanism called the rapture, which wasn't even part of accepted Christianity for the first 1900 something years. And this is back when I was still an Episcopal, so there was a big theological difference there. But apparently, no matter how much I tried to get this across to him, that I believed his theology was a bunch of bullshit, was a bunch of manufactured bullshit, because I was a liberal by this point. I was a social democrat, a progressive by this point in time. Again, I'm skipping forward a lot on this, but I understood what his pastor was doing. His pastor was using the fact that my mother recently had died from secondary liver cancer to like a vulture, just coming in at the last second to take advantage of everyone's grief and giving my old man some kind of new weapon that he can use to get the rest of us in line, because he was a very authoritarian jackass who thought that he had a right to have power over us regardless of whether we were grown and out on our own or not. He just could not accept the fact. Well, I wasn't out on my own. I was still living with him, but the thing is, I was only living with him at the time because I was jobless due to the lack of jobs in the area. There haven't been a lot of jobs in the Goodwater, Clay County, Coosa County area for many, many years. But he was doing all kinds of things. I mean, all kinds of unethical things, to just telling me to spy on people for him and all that junk. And then I'd go back and I'd tell them that what he told me to do and everything, so they'd know ahead of time. I mean, this guy was a religious hypocrite before, but afterwards, it just got crazy. It got fucking terrifying crazy. I mean, he would just go prayer warrior crazy, quarrelsome. Think about living with Michelle Bachmann, a male version of Michelle Bachmann, crossbred with Gary North, and you've pretty much got my old man in his older age. I mean, his new target had become atheists. His new target had become liberals and other groups and gays and such. And I just, being on that list of targets, and me having to tell him, dude, I'm a liberal, and I don't appreciate you coming after my specific group in society. I do not appreciate being used as a scapegoat. I'm your own flesh and blood, for crying out loud. And it just goes in one ear and out the other. And he gave me a choice: either get in line or get out, and I didn't have anywhere to go at the time. I know it sounds like I'm trying to go for sympathy in this video, but I'm just trying to detail what kind of power people have over others, what they're willing to do when they have power over others, when they have perceived power over others. Eventually I got away. Eventually I got a job and got away, but it took a lot of doing, and the guy snatched the car out from underneath me because he didn't transfer the title of the car over to me. My mother asked him to transfer the title of the car over to me after she died as part of her last will and testament. He didn't do it. It wasn't an official will, though. I pretty much was given two choices: be on the street and stranded, or follow his religion and kowtow to him. And he played that like a harp from hell. And when I got out, I haven't called him or talked to him since. He burned his bridge with me, and I have nothing but absolute disdain for the man. I consider him the lowest form of garbage there is, just like I do every other conservative. He's less than human to me now because of what he did. He chose to be less than human, and he will always be seen as less than human by me. I don't want to forgive him, and I never will. He used my mother's death as a means to coerce other people, to use guilt trips on other people, emotional-based guilt trips, to get his way on issues. And he didn't like people before unless they kissed his ass. Again, another of the themes of my upbringing, my relationship with my father, very dysfunctional. I hate him. I'm not gonna lie, I fucking hate my old man. My hate may be wasted, but at the same time, why not? Why not hate him? It's impotent rage, but whatever. I just cannot see myself making up with this man or liking him, because he chose to be a scumbag. He chose to take the low road on everything. And he even pushed me down to his level on many occasions, because I felt that if I continued to unilaterally disarm in the face of his stupidity, that he was going to make an ass out of me at some point. And I just said, hey, fuck it. You want to get in the trenches and go at it? Hey, we can do this. And he just, there's no dealing with crazy. There really isn't. I might sound a little crazy on my videos, but this guy was just off his fucking rocker. You wonder why the fuck I turned out so bad? Some people wonder why I turned out so fucked up in the head. Gee, I wonder why. So I'm going to comb my hair a bit. But, I'm going to have to rewind a bit and go back to my... I think I'm going to have to make this into like a 2 or 3 part series on why I became the way... why I adopted my political views. But I'm pretty much living proof that in the absence of hardcore evangelical fundamentalism, particularly the new kind that conservatives in the post-World War II era pulled out of their ass and waded off to John Birch Society bullshit. Remember, Timothy LaHaye and R.J. Rushdoony and Gary North and all these other guys who were hardcore John Birchers were also guys who organized the religious right. I'm living proof that in the absence of this contrived theology that conservatives peddle, in the absence of some kind of evangelical Protestant religion, hardcore born-again religion, conservatism really has very few breeding grounds outside of racism. My time in high school, my last 3 years in high school was pretty shitty. I mean, all I ever did was sit at home and go for walks. I mean, we only went to that place like once a week. And when I'd open the history books, it was just full of historical revisions because I had been grounded enough in real history, academic history by then to know that I was having shit crammed down my throat. I know how a cult works. Cut off outside sources of information and feed them a steady stream of what you want them to hear. I mean, I knew about how that shit worked from a young age. I knew what was going on. And apparently most of the other kids in that building did too. I'm willing to, it's just, I mean, the kids at this Christian school were even worse about drug abuse and teen pregnancies and premarital sex than the ones in the public school, which is another irony there. It was like a microcosm of what was wrong with the Bible Belt red states. And I fucking hated it. And I despised the headmaster because I knew he was a fucking crook. I knew the man was a piece of shit. I knew he was off his fucking rocker. But couldn't do anything about that at that time because I was 15, 16, 17 years old, and not until I was 18 could I really walk up to the man and tell him what I really thought about him. I mean, when I found out that the guy had actually been outed for child molestation, that he had actually gone to court over that, I laughed my fucking ass off. I was just like, typical. That's exactly what I was thinking at the time. Typical. I saw it coming a mile away. Did you get that number? Because I fucking called it. Where was I? I've digressed a lot in this vid. But the religion had a lot to do with it. And then after I finally started going to college, I started dealing with a lot of other religious wackos who made it into college in spite of having poor SAT scores because of their homeschooling or because they or just happened to be super religious wackos in spite of having a relatively decent education and in spite of being reasonably intelligent themselves. And by that point, I was immunized against their conversion attempts by years and years and years of the same unethical ploys used to try to convert me from other religious people. Many religious folks, even today, they'll say, "Oh, you're lost. You're just lost. You're lost forever. Oh, you're going to hell. You're going to hell. Really? Have you been there? No. Have you died? No. Okay then. Telling me I'm going to go to hell when unless if you die and come back, you don't know what the fuck's out about beyond this life anyway." One moment, I got to go check something. And I know there are plenty of religious liberals, even evangelical Protestant liberals and progressives out there that are probably, some of them will probably take offense to what I have to say, but since when have I ever really let that stop me from saying what's on my mind? You know, uh, but yeah, religion and conservatism and right wing ideology, they feed into one another. And if a kid, that's why they want to get them while they're young. It's the whole tobacco company mentality. Get them while they're young. Get them while they're young. The same thing McDonald's does with its marketing tools. Get them while they're young. Get them while they're young. The same reason why Walmart, when they started opening their super centers in my state, uh, they put their toy aisle at the front of the frickin' store, and kids would cry and cry and cry, and they would rush to the toy aisle and everything. And after a while, parents just got tired of this shit and said, "Hey, Walmart, you need to move that shit to the back because we're tired of having our fucking kids crying." The get them while they're young thing. Capitalist conservatives, they know how this works. They exploit impressionable youth and people who are vulnerable, who are easy pickings, people who have gone through a lot, people who are grieving. This is why you see the religious right having a virtual lockdown in many parts of the countries on adoptions on the foster home industries and this is why they want you to give them this is why they want to push for adoption as opposed to allowing women to have easy access to abortion, because hey, they know they have a lockdown on adoption. They know they have a lockdown on the foster home industry, and they want to use that to get them while they're young. It feeds into it, which is another reason why you don't really see a lot of religious right organizations trying as heavily in black areas, because a lot of the religious to fight against abortion uh, uh, in urban areas and Hispanic areas, because they just don't, because a lot of the religious right also happen to be a bunch of old school Jim Crow racists from the 1960s who got older and just said and still kept their racist views and found ways to reconcile them with their religion. There's a lot of crossover between those groups, as I've stated before in many of my earlier videos. But religion, coming up, going back to what I was saying before, I got to get ready for work in a minute, but religion, or should I say, my ability to beat the rap, so to speak, because I got through the right-wing evangelical dragnet in this society. I don't have it holding me down. I don't have it clouding my judgment. I don't have these fake theologies developed in right-wing think tanks back in the 1970s that were nothing more than a hybridization of the economic policies of Milton Friedman and Frederick Hayek with a sanitized version of Protestantism being rammed down. I didn't have that rammed down my throat. Yeah, Christian conservative. Nothing more than an oxymoron. An oxymoron. But I guess this would be a good place to stop. I mean, after actually developing some financial independence and succeeding where people said I would fail and all that junk, I actually feel, I feel good because I can actually go back and point, just jab them in the eye and say, You know, just do the whole Simpsons Nelson thing. Should be my ringtone. Anyway, this is going to be my first in maybe 2 or 3 videos, 2 or 3 parts series, 2 or 3 part series about my journey to becoming a social democracy advocate. I guess this is a long video. I actually feel kind of stupid for dragging this one out as much, but a lot of divergences and everything in this vid, a lot of going off on tangents. Again, no transcript, and that's my rambling, I guess. That's my rant. Active Asshole on roids. Peace out, everybody.